I found a Game Boy cartridge with no label. I can't tell if I'm playing it or it's playing me. I found it in a cardboard box at the back of a thrift store, sandwiched between broken Walkmans and stacks of scratched CDs. The store had that musty, claustrophobic feel of a place hoarding more than just forgotten trinkets. The fluorescent lights above buzzed unevenly, casting twitching shadows over the disorganized mess. It was a blank Game Boy cartridge. No label. Just plastic with the word Flicker scratched across it in a faded marker. The corners were worn away like it had been shoved into and pulled from the slot 1,000 times. Curiosity and a price tag of $1.50 convinced me to take it home. "Good deal. Game's a classic," said the guy at the register. I went to my shift. I take care of an elderly woman in a forgotten part of town. Big house. She doesn't usually even wake, which leaves me with spare time. A lot of spare time. I arrived at work and went through my routine handover with Ingy. "Anything to report?" I asked. "Nah. She's out for the night now." I did my routine rounds. There was nothing left to do. I got out my trusty Game Boy. The moment I slid the cartridge in and powered up, the screen crackled. A strange static appeared. It came and went, like it was breathing, like it was alive. The screen went dark. The word Flicker, written in shaky, childlike font against a pitch-black background, appeared. No music, just the faint hiss of static. The game was simple. You played as a pixelated kid, trapped in a dark, sprawling mansion. Your only defense was a flickering flashlight with a battery that drained faster than it should have. The monster, an ever-changing silhouette of twisted limbs and hollow eyes, stalked you from room to room. It flickered, popping into existence in random spots, staying longer each time, and coming at you faster than you could blink. Every time you shined the flashlight on it, it would vanish. But the monster learned. It adapted. The game felt alive. And the more I played, the less the monster seemed like just a bunch of pixels. By the time I beat the game, I was drenched in sweat. The last level had been a frantic, white-knuckled blur of flashlight beams and desperate sprints down endless hallways. But I won. I fucking won. And then the screen went black. I tried to turn it back on, but there was no response. That's when the lights started flickering, buzzing, pulsing like a heartbeat gone wrong. Shadows stretched across the walls, twitching and jerking. Then the power cut. I was alone in the dark, except I could just tell I wasn't. I used my hands to guide me out into the hallway. Click. One single bulb in the distance turned on, then off, then on again. It kept going in a steady rhythm. The first few flashes gave me relief, but the longer I stood there, I knew something was about to appear. And it did, in the distance. A figure, limbs twisting and glitching like bad code. I recognized it immediately. It was the monster from the game, its hollow eyes locked onto me. Then the old lady's bedroom door slammed open. She wasn't asleep anymore. Her skin was pale, cold, but her eyes burned with a terrible life. A catheter tube dangled from her wrist like a serpent's tail. She lunged at me, fingers like claws. Her grip wrapped around my throat, too strong, like iron bands tightening. I gasped, struggled, but she held on, dragging me down. I kicked wildly, breaking free just long enough to grab an iron candle holder. The monster loomed behind her, flickering in and out of sight, feeding off the chaos. I struck the old lady hard. She snarled, a terrible, unnatural sound. She smashed a chair, grabbed a sharp piece of wood and lunged to stab me with it. I dodged barely. I realized then, this wasn't just the monster. It was controlling her. Either that or I'd given her too much Provigil earlier, using her body as a weapon. Her strength was incredible. I turned and faced the flickering shadow. The monster pulsed, glitching faster. spreading like static across the room. Remembering the game, I knew I only had one way to fight back. A flashlight. I tore through the kitchen drawers, hands shaking, until I found it. An old, battered flashlight covered in grime. And even though the monster was getting closer with each flicker of light, I felt confidence brewing as I aimed my flashlight and placed my thumbs on its switch. Click. Nothing happened. I tried again and again. Nothing. No light. The batteries were dead. I ran into the butler's pantry thinking what to do. Then, thunk, thunk, thunk. A monotonous sound broke the silence. I looked through the slatted door. The old lady was slowly making her way towards me. Then, nothing. She disappeared. And then I smelled it. Gasoline, thick and sickening, seeping under the crack. The old woman's voice hissed through the darkness, whispering threats as she reveled in the idea of burning me alive. Behind her, I could see the flicker of the monster, the puppet master, in complete control. The old lady lit a match, and just as the flames were about to lick the doorframe, in that heartbeat, I remembered the batteries from the Game Boy. Hands trembling, I swapped them into the flashlight and flicked the switch. This time, the beam cut through the black like a blade. I kicked open the pantry door, and just as the monster appeared, voom! The beam cut through the darkness. The monster screamed, a horrible, broken sound. But it still wouldn't give up. It still tried to grab me, to kill me. I pressed the flashlight harder. The flicker shrieked more and more, until finally it shattered into 1,000 shards of static, vanishing like a bad dream. The light steadied. The house grew still. The old lady fell to the floor, limp and lifeless. I was alive. Now, the Game Boy cartridge is buried deep beneath the floorboards. But sometimes, when the lights flicker just right, I swear it's the monster, waiting for its next game. So if you find Flicker, don't play it, because some games don't end. They only begin.
Enjoyed the horror? There's more waiting for you. Subscribe now and step into the shadows. New spine-chilling stories every week. Don't miss a scream. Like, comment your favorite part, and share with fellow horror lovers.